East West have recently released their Hollywood Fantasy Orchestra series, made up of separate installments including strings, brass, woodwinds, percussion, and choir. So today I'm going to have a quick look at some of the instruments that come included, along with a walkthrough of a short piece that I've written using the library. A big thank you to East West for sending over a license, so I can give you an idea of what's included. Let's first take a quick listen to part of the track which I wrote for this video. The instruments in the Hollywood Fantasy Orchestra primarily replace the ones normally found in a more traditional orchestral sample library. So the hardanger fiddle section replaces the violins, the viola da gamba section replaces the cello, the Renaissance flutes and Irish whistles in place of the flutes, or the flugelhorn section replacing the trumpets. These are all instruments frequently heard in scores that are based on a kind of medieval fantasy-style genre. Think scores to the Witcher series, the Tudors or Vikings, and of course Game of Thrones. In addition to these more specialised instruments, the library also contains a small selection of orchestral patches, in the form of combined patches such as violins and violas, cello and basses, or a low brass section. So I thought for this quick walkthrough, I would play through each section of the piece I've written, taking a closer look at the specific instruments and patches that I've used. I've not used any external reverb, but have applied small EQ tweaks to some of the instruments, along with adding a limiter onto my master channel. I haven't used every instrument, or of course every articulation from the library, but hopefully it will be able to give you a good taste of the core sound. Okay, so let's start by having a quick listen to the first section. Here I've tried to set the tone right from the beginning, with a relatively calm or serene feeling. So looking at the individual instruments and patches I've used, firstly I have the Irish whistle playing this little tune, along with the fiddles down an octave, with the standard sustain patch. I also used the more traditional orchestral violins and viola patch as well, playing fifths with an F and C as a pedal or drone over the top of the melody. From bar 11, I then introduced two of my favourite patches from the library. This glissando patch in the fiddles, along with the viola da gamba, playing open fifths towards the lower end. Finally, I've sprinkled some percussion in, with the goat nail shaker helping to hopefully add some atmosphere, along with the grand cassa or bass drum giving a sense of drama. Okay, so let's take a listen to the next section. I wanted to introduce some movement or energy, so firstly the solo fiddle takes on the melodic role, with this short repeating pattern. The dulcimer then has this rhythmic figure, playing in an accompanying role. For some further rhythmic interest, I've also got this staccato bass line using the low short strings patch. In addition, I also felt there needed to be a boost to the overall low end to further help ramp up the intensity. So have the long strings playing a low F, which actually plays in octaves, as this is built into the patch. To further enhance the feeling of energy, I've also added this col legno patch in the low strings, rocking back and forth between Fs. Moving on to the next section, let's first again take a quick listen. You'll hear that the rhythmic feel continues, although with a varied fiddle pattern and dulcimer part. You can hear there is lots of detail and bite in this fiddle patch, helping to add some grit to the sound. I also bring back the Irish whistle, before then introducing the Julian pipes instrument for the first time, another one of my favourite instruments from the library. For variation, I've also opted to take out the low staccato strings for the first half, before then bringing them back in with a different pattern for the second half. To keep some cohesiveness from the previous section, I've tried to carry on the now familiar drone sound in the violins as well, which you can see here. At the same time, the low strings are still playing a low pedal note of F, along with the col legno figure, again from the low strings. Okay, let's take a quick listen to the next section. Up until this point, the harmony so far has been very much firmly rooted to F. So as we're up to around 50 seconds or so into the track, I feel the time has come to introduce some movement harmony-wise, moving from F minor up to A flat major and then B flat major. I've also opted for a more legato feel compared to the previous sections, primarily making use of long strings and the viola da gamba, with the Julian pipes and the lute tremolo patch playing as well. I've tried to achieve a crescendo going into a short break. I found this fiddle patch with a crescendo baked in, which I really like. Along with making use of the low brass section, where I've dialed in some mod and expression to help as well. And so we get to the final section, where I introduce the main tune of the track. The core melody is 16 bars long, which I essentially repeat twice, with a slightly longer second time though. So here I am making use of the high strings, the violins and viola combined, playing the melody in octaves, along with the Irish whistle. For the accompaniment, first of all, I am again making use of the more traditional strings, with the low strings sustain patch helping to provide some open voiced chords. For movement, I again make use of the dulcimer playing a rhythmic pattern, with the notes outlining each of the chords. I also used the lute as well, which is playing a slightly different rhythm, but again using notes which are outlining the main harmony. My favourite glissando fiddle patch makes another appearance, again with the bare fifths of F and C during the F minor chords. I then take the opportunity to bring in some extra percussion, with the bamron playing throughout, along with the high taiko hits. The familiar shaker is back with regular eighth notes, along with the grand cassette as well. During the second time through the main melody, to ramp up the intensity, I also add to the orchestration both the melody and accompaniment. Melody-wise, the ocarina makes its first appearance, doubling with the Irish whistle. Then for the accompaniment, I bring in the low brass and female choir, both outlining the harmony with chords in their respective registers. Finally, for some extra sonic interest, I have a couple of notes from the orchestral or tubular bells, along with these constant metal hits that sounds a little like finger cymbals from the cymbal and gong ensemble patch. So that hopefully gives you an idea of what's included with the Hollywood Fantasy Orchestra. Now this is obviously not a traditional orchestral sample library, but is a fantastic collection of fairly specialised instruments geared towards music that you would find in soundtracks such as Game of Thrones, the Tudors, or the Witcher series. If you're a video game composer or have an interest in writing in this style, I would thoroughly recommend the library. Let me know if you have any questions or comments below. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.